A person who truly progresses is not someone who gets everything right from the start, but someone who keeps adjusting while continuing to move forward. And one day, when you look back, you will realize that it was precisely those early, imperfect versions of yourself that led you to someone steadier, more confident, and far stronger than before. Most people today don't fail because they lack dreams, but because they grow exhausted with themselves, exhausted from setting too many big goals and abandoning them halfway, exhausted from making promises to themselves over and over only to break them the very next morning, exhausted from waiting for a big turning point to change their lives while every passing day looks exactly the same as the one before. Life doesn't collapse overnight. It slowly wears down, little by little, through small things that are dismissed as insignificant. We are used to believing that one powerful decision, one dramatic breakthrough will change everything, but the harsh reality is this: there are no miracles for people without discipline. Procrastination, carelessness, and broken promises to yourself accumulate silently, like rust eating away at a precious sword. By the time you notice, the blade is no longer sharp enough to fight life. The Japanese see this path very differently. They don't believe in overnight transformations. They believe in small actions, repeated every day, quiet, persistent, and unwavering. The philosophy of Kaizen, improving by just 1% each day, is not flashy or exciting, but it carries a frightening kind of power. It does not allow you to escape from yourself. Every day, you either move forward a little or you fall back a little. There is no safe middle ground. In the spirit of the samurai, honor does not lie in glorious victories, but in silent discipline. A warrior may fall on the battlefield, but never allows himself to live carelessly. They understand that true strength is not built in moments of excitement, but through habits so small that others hardly notice. Keeping even the smallest promise, cleaning up after use, caring for the body daily, remaining silent when words are unnecessary, and examining oneself before blaming circumstances. This video will take you through 10 very small habits of the Japanese, quiet and simple practices that are powerful enough to create major differences in mindset, discipline, and the way you live. If you understand and apply them one by one, you will realize that lasting change does not come from loud breakthroughs, but begins with how you live each day. If you find value in this video, please like, share, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel so we can train and grow together every day. Habit 1. Keep your promises, even the smallest ones. Keeping your word is not a communication skill. It is the foundation of character. A person may lack money, luck, or even opportunities, but if they still honor their word, they have something solid to stand on and rise again. When promises are taken lightly, even very small ones, the collapse doesn't happen immediately, but it begins quietly from within. A small promise is still a matter of honor. You promise to wake up early but hit snooze. You promise to finish the task but procrastinate. You promise to change but last only a few days. Each time, no one scolds you, no one punishes you, but you remember very clearly. You are teaching yourself that your own words carry no weight, and when your words lose value, your willpower weakens with them. The most dangerous failure is not breaking promises to others, but breaking promises to yourself. When you become used to violating your own commitments, you lose inner trust, the invisible strength that determines your ability to go the distance. Someone who doesn't trust themselves will always need motivation from the outside, and when that motivation disappears, they stop immediately. In the samurai code, honor is valued above life itself. A warrior may lose a battle, but never betrays their word. For them, losing credibility is more terrifying than death. A sword may break, a body may fall, but honor must never be damaged.
It is this uncompromising principle that creates people who are unshakable, regardless of circumstances. Keeping your word doesn't start with grand commitments. It starts with actions so small they seem ordinary. Saying you'll read 10 pages and actually reading 10 pages. Saying you'll exercise for 15 minutes and doing exactly 15 minutes. Saying you'll finish today's task and not postponing it to tomorrow. These actions don't make you stand out, and no one applauds them, but they quietly build something extremely valuable: personal credibility. Credibility doesn't come from powerful words, but from consistency repeated over time. Every time you keep a small promise, you lay another brick in the foundation of discipline. And when that foundation is strong enough, you no longer need to force yourself, because doing the right thing has become a natural reflex. Someone who keeps their word with themselves doesn't need to shout about change. They move forward in silence, slowly but surely. And one day, when they look back, they realize they've gone very far, not because of one big decision, but because of hundreds of small promises kept every single day. That is the path of true strength.
Habit 2. Finish before perfect. Completion is a form of strength that many people underestimate. Most unfinished dreams don't die from lack of ability, they die from an obsession with perfection. People procrastinate not because they are lazy, but because they are afraid their work won't be good enough, afraid of being judged, afraid the results won't match expectations. In that fear, action is suspended, while time quietly passes by, waiting for no one. The Japanese do not wait for ideal conditions to begin. They understand clearly that perfect conditions never arrive. If you wait until you're skilled enough, free enough, confident enough, or comfortable enough, you'll stand still for your entire life. So they choose to finish first, then improve. If it's wrong, they fix it. If it's lacking, they add to it. If it's not good enough, they upgrade it. What matters most is that the wheel is turning, even slowly. The philosophy of Kaizen has never demanded perfection from the start. Kaizen asks for only one thing: continuity. Each day, a little better than yesterday. Each repetition, a lesson learned. Every step, no matter how small, has value. It is this persistent repetition that creates great achievements, not grand beginnings that quickly fall apart. In the samurai spirit, action always comes before words. A warrior does not wait until his sword technique is flawless before entering battle. He trains while fighting, adjusts while moving forward, because only reality sharpens skill. Standing still in pursuit of perfection is the same as removing yourself from the game. Excessive perfectionism is a subtle trap. It wears the mask of seriousness, but inside, it is procrastination disguised as preparation. You say you're getting ready, but in truth, you're avoiding action. You say you want to do your best, but you don't dare to begin. The result is that nothing gets finished, and your confidence erodes with each unmoving day. Finishing before perfect does not mean being careless. It means doing the best you can with what you have right now and committing to improve next time. The first draft doesn't need to be beautiful, but it needs to exist. The first product doesn't need to be outstanding, but it needs to be created. Only when there's something to fix do you truly enter the process of growth. Imperfect action is always more powerful than a perfect plan that never leaves the page. A person who progresses is not someone who gets it right from the start, but someone who keeps adjusting while moving forward. And one day, when you look back, you will realize that those early imperfect versions of yourself are exactly what led you to someone steadier, more confident, and far stronger.
Habit 3. Care for yourself as a ritual. Self-care is not a reward after you've burned out. It is the condition that prevents you from collapsing halfway. Many people confuse effort with self-destruction. They take pride in working non-stop, staying up late, neglecting their bodies and emotions, and call it discipline. But the truth is simple. No long journey is completed with a broken body and an exhausted mind. The Japanese do not care for themselves based on mood or inspiration. They don't wait until they're tired to rest or until they're sick to heal. For them, self-care is a daily ritual, repeated consistently like breathing. A hot bath to release tension after a long day. A quiet cup of tea to calm the mind. A slow walk to reconnect with one's natural rhythm. These actions are small, very small, but they are done every day without negotiation. In the samurai mindset, the body is not just a vessel for the soul, it is a weapon. No matter how sharp a sword is, it will rust if not cleaned and maintained. Samurai understood that if the body deteriorates, even the strongest willpower will eventually collapse. That is why they trained regularly, ate in moderation, and rested at the right times, not for pleasure, but to be ready for a long fight. Modern people often focus only on results and forget that the machine producing those results is their own body and mind. They drain their energy for short-term achievements, then pay the price with their health, clarity, and joy of living. When they are finally forced to stop, they realize they've been moving too fast for far too long, and recovery has become much harder. Caring for yourself as a ritual does not mean indulgence or avoiding responsibility. It means respecting human limits, knowing when to stop, when to slow down, and when to recharge. Someone who knows how to preserve themselves is not weak. They understand that endurance always matters more than speed. If you want to go far, you must learn how to remain steady. You don't need elaborate treatments or dramatic changes, just small rituals, practiced daily with seriousness. When the body is cared for, the mind becomes clear. When the mind is stable, discipline becomes natural. And at that point, you no longer have to force yourself to push forward, because you have become a sustainable system, strong enough to go far without breaking.
Habit 4. Stay silent when it's unnecessary. Silence is not weakness. Silence is a form of strength that has been forged over time. In a world where everyone rushes to speak in order to assert themselves, the person who knows when to remain silent is the one who truly has self-mastery. They don't need to talk constantly to be noticed, and they don't need to argue to prove their worth. Their presence alone carries weight. Not speaking to show off, not debating to win, this is the choice of a mature person. When ego no longer controls your words, you begin to see that many arguments exist only to satisfy pride, not to create results. The wise do not waste energy on meaningless conversations. They guard their words the way one guards a sword, drawn only when absolutely necessary. True power lies in composure. In the midst of chaos, the calm person sees the clearest. When others react emotionally, they respond with depth. When others rush, they slow down to observe. That silence creates an advantage. It allows you to listen more, understand better, and make sharper decisions. Silence does not make you smaller, it makes you steadier. The samurai spirit teaches, "Speak little, do much." A true samurai does not boast about skill or display strength unnecessarily. They let actions speak in place of words. Every step is deliberate, every move purposeful. Their silence is not empty, it is filled with discipline, self-respect, and total focus. It is the kind of silence that earns respect. The deeper a person is, the fewer words they need. Shallow water is noisy, deep water is still. When your inner core is strong enough, you no longer feel the need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to win arguments because you've already won through action. You don't need immediate recognition because you understand the value of endurance and consistency over time. Silence, when used at the right moment, helps you avoid mistakes, preserve dignity, and accumulate inner strength. It gives you space to think, to observe, and to grow. In that quiet, you hear your true inner voice. instead of being dragged along by the noise of the world. The habit of staying silent when it's unnecessary does not make you invisible. On the contrary, it makes you sharp, composed, and formidable. When you speak, your words carry weight. When you act, the results speak for you. And that is the mark of someone who has entered true depth. Habit 5. Clean up immediately after use. Tere. Cleaning is not a trivial chore. It is a form of inner training. The way you treat your physical space clearly reflects how you treat your life. A cluttered desk or a chaotic room doesn't just create inconvenience, it quietly plants feelings of confusion, stagnation, and loss of control in your mind. Chaos on the outside, if left long enough, becomes chaos within. The Japanese don't clean merely to make things look tidy. They clean out of respect for space. Every object has its place, and every place has meaning. By returning things to where they belong immediately after use, they restore order not only to the environment, but also to the mind. Nothing is allowed to pile up. Nothing small is postponed until it becomes a heavy burden. This proactive discipline keeps the mind clear, alert, and ready for what comes next. In the samurai mindset, order is non-negotiable. A warrior keeps his sword and armor in perfect condition, not for appearance, but because his life depends on it. In a moment of life and death, a single second wasted searching for a weapon could cost everything. That is why everything must be precise, aligned, and complete. Nothing extra, nothing missing. External order is internal readiness. Modern people often underestimate the power of cleaning. They get used to leaving things for later and accept clutter as an unavoidable part of a busy life. But the truth is this: every object out of place takes up a piece of your attention. Every mess drains decision-making energy. Over time, you feel tired, unfocused, and unsure why even simple tasks feel so heavy. Cleaning up immediately after use is a small but sharp discipline. It trains you to fully complete an action instead of leaving it unfinished. It creates a clear sense of closure, freeing your mind from being dragged down by loose ends. Just a few minutes at a time, repeated consistently, form a habit of living with order and intention. If you want control over your life, you don't need to start with grand plans. Start with your desk. When your space is organized, your thoughts become structured. When your thoughts are clear, your decisions become accurate. And when decisions are right, actions become powerful. Order is not just an appearance. It is the quiet foundation of a stable and proactive life. Habit 6. Persist with very small actions every day. Kaizen. Great achievements are not born from sudden bursts of inspiration, but are built through small steps repeated relentlessly. Kaizen, the Japanese philosophy of continuous improvement, does not ask you to change your life in a single day. It asks for something far simpler and far harder. Be just a little better today than yesterday. You don't need to do a lot. You need to do it consistently. Progress is not about intensity, it's about frequency. Doing one small thing every day may seem insignificant, but over time it creates momentum. That momentum carries you forward even when you're tired, discouraged, or unmotivated. Successful people are not those who are always inspired, but those who don't quit when inspiration disappears. A small action is more valuable than a grand plan that stays on paper. Big plans sound heroic, but without execution, they are illusions. A small action, reading a few pages, exercising for 10 minutes, writing a short paragraph, repeated daily, quietly creates change. Small actions lower resistance, reduce pressure, and keep you in motion. Kaizen is the path of endurance. It is not the fastest path, but it is the most reliable.
It doesn't promise instant success, but it guarantees long-term progress. Those who follow Kaizen don't ask, "When will I succeed?" They focus on a single question: did I do a little better today than yesterday? That focus allows them to go farther than those constantly searching for shortcuts. This philosophy teaches respect for the process. Every small task you complete today is a brick laid in the foundation of tomorrow. No single brick creates a building, but missing even one weakens the structure. Real strength lies in quiet accumulation, not in short-lived bursts of intensity. The core lesson of Kaizen is this: discipline beats motivation. Motivation comes and goes, discipline stays. When you build the habit of acting regardless of how you feel, you surpass most people. Discipline gets you to show up every day, to work even when no one is watching and no one is cheering. Persisting with very small actions every day does not make you ordinary. On the contrary, it makes you someone who cannot be defeated by time. Day by day, you move forward, slowly but surely. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize that those tiny actions are what created a completely different person.
Habit 7. Constant self-reflection. Hansei. The Japanese practice of self-reflection is not meant to trap you in guilt or self-blame, but to awaken awareness. It is the moment, after a long day, when you step away from the noise of the world and face yourself with complete honesty. At the end of each day, someone who practices Hansei asks what they could have done better, not to condemn themselves, but to clearly identify what needs adjustment. When you are brave enough to see your own flaws, you step outside the comfort zone of ego. That moment opens the door to growth. Those who don't reflect repeat the same mistakes. Those who do turn mistakes into lessons. No blaming, no excuses. That is the foundation of Hansei. Blame may ease your mind for a moment, but it steals your future. Excuses protect the ego, but damage growth. When you stop shifting responsibility onto circumstances, other people, or fate, you reclaim control of your life. Because only when the fault is yours does the power to fix it become yours as well. The samurai embodied Hansei in its clearest and most demanding form. When a samurai failed, he questioned himself before blaming conditions. He didn't search for reasons to hide weakness, but for causes that could make him stronger. For them, every failure was a warning, a test of honor and inner discipline. Self-examination did not break them, it refined their will and character. Growth begins with honesty toward yourself. Honesty is difficult because it forces you to admit what you didn't do well, the wrong choices you made, the moments you lacked discipline. But that honesty creates depth. When you dare to tell yourself the truth, you are no longer trapped in illusions about who you are. You know where you stand, what needs correction, and which direction to take. Hansei turns each day into a living lesson. Looking back each night is not about regret, but about going to sleep with clearer awareness. Tomorrow doesn't need to be perfect, it only needs to be better than today. Those who practice Hansei don't run from mistakes, they use them as leverage. They understand that no one is strong from the beginning, but anyone can become stronger by learning to look inward. When self-reflection becomes a habit, you grow quietly but steadily. You don't need to be better than anyone else. You only need to be better than who you were yesterday, and that is the most reliable path to true maturity. Habit 8. Live simply without showing off. Living simply is not a lack of ambition. It is the strength to no longer need to perform. When people are unsure of their own value, they often feel the need to talk more, display more, and boast louder. But when inner strength has been built, words naturally become fewer, actions become calmer, and presence alone carries weight. The Japanese have long viewed simplicity as a form of power. They rarely speak about their achievements, not out of superficial humility, but because results don't need explanation. A sharp sword doesn't need advertising, it only needs to be drawn at the right moment. True achievement is the same. It lives in the quality of one's work and the reliability of one's character, not in loud self-promotion. In the samurai spirit, proving oneself through words is seen as a sign of immaturity. Bushido honors action, responsibility, and the ability to stand firm under pressure. A samurai does not recount achievements, complain about hardships, or showcase victories. They let their way of living and their final results speak for them. That quiet restraint creates authority without threats. Modern society, however, often falls into the trap of constant self-display. Social media turns showing off into a habit and attention into a measure of worth. People talk more than they act, promise more than they deliver, and narrate more than they actually live. Gradually, energy is spent building an image, while the real foundation inside becomes hollow. The noise grows louder, but real strength fades. Choosing simplicity is choosing to return to the core. You don't need to prove yourself to everyone. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to be everywhere. Someone who knows where they're going won't be distracted by the crowd's gaze. They focus on what must be done, improve a little each day, and let results accumulate over time. True value is not found in boasting, but in quiet actions repeated consistently. Showing up on time every day, finishing work thoroughly, keeping promises when no one is watching. These things don't bring immediate applause, but they build lasting credibility. And credibility is what opens the most important doors in life. The silence of a capable person always carries weight. It is not empty, but full of inner strength. It is the silence of someone who has experienced enough failure to no longer need to boast about victory. The silence of someone focused on the journey, not the spotlight. When you learn to live simply and act more than you speak, you begin to understand real strength never needs to be loud to be recognized. Habit 9. Respect begins with the smallest things. Respect is not something grand or dramatic. It begins with small, simple actions repeated every day. A proper bow, a sincere thank you, a timely apology, these seemingly minor gestures are the solid foundation of character. People with depth don't need to assert superiority. They let their manners and attitudes speak for them. A bow, a thank you, and an apology given at the right moment reflect the level of self-respect within a person. To know how to say thank you is to know how to acknowledge. To know how to apologize is to know how to take responsibility. Bowing one's head is not a sign of inferiority, but an understanding of the value of humility. These gestures show that ego does not come before everything else. They recognize that human relationships are built on respect, not power or winning. Respecting others is, in essence, respecting yourself. When you treat those around you with decency, you affirm your own standard of living. You don't need others to be perfect in order to behave correctly. How you act in the smallest, most unnoticed moments reveals who you truly are. Those who lack respect for others eventually lose respect for themselves. In Bushido, etiquette stands alongside strength. A samurai may be highly skilled with the sword, but without proper conduct, he is not yet a complete warrior. Etiquette does not weaken a person, it disciplines power. It reminds us that strength must never be used carelessly, and that true power is always accompanied by inner control. It is this balance between strength and respect that defines a true warrior. Respect in small things builds long-term trust. People may forget what you said,
but they will remember how you treated them. Proper conduct in moments when no one is watching is the most accurate measure of character. That is when true nature is revealed, without a stage, without an audience. The core lesson is this: character determines a person's ultimate limits. Talent may help you move fast, intelligence may help you go far, but only character determines how long you last and where you ultimately stand. When you respect even the smallest things, you quietly expand your own limits. And one day, you will realize that those small gestures have lifted you to a level that raw strength alone could never reach.
Habit 10. End each day with gratitude. Ending the day with gratitude is not a sentimental ritual. It is a way of training the inner self so you don't collapse under life's weight. When night falls, what shapes tomorrow's state of mind is not only how much you accomplished, but how you look back on today. If you close the day with resentment, exhaustion, and comparison, you wake up heavy. But if you close it with gratitude, your mind resets to the right place. The Japanese don't only say thank you to others, they thank the day itself. Thankful for still being alive, still being able to try, still being able to fall and learn the necessary lessons. For them, each passing day is not time consumed, but another chance to train. Whether the day was smooth or difficult, it brought something that yesterday did not. In the samurai spirit, life was never taken for granted. A warrior stepping onto the battlefield knew he might not return. That awareness made him value each morning, each meal, each training session. Samurai understood that every day of life is a gift, and only a fool wastes that gift on complaint and bitterness. People often feel gratitude only when things go well. When failure arrives, when exhaustion drags on, when effort goes unrecognized, resentment easily takes over. Yet it is precisely on the hardest days that gratitude matters most. Grateful for still standing, grateful that adversity hasn't broken you, grateful that every challenge is forging strength no book could ever teach. Ending each day with gratitude frees you from the role of victim. You no longer see life as something working against you, but as a strict yet fair teacher. This mindset creates immense mental endurance. It doesn't erase difficulty, but it prevents difficulty from consuming you. Just a few minutes before sleep, review the day and acknowledge what you learned, what you endured, and how you moved forward, even by a very small step. When gratitude becomes a habit, the mind steadies, emotions fluctuate less, and willpower grows more resilient. A grateful person is not weak. They are strong enough to see value even in adversity. And that mindset allows them to stand firm, keep moving forward, and not lose themselves as life's trials grow harsher. Great paths are built from very small things. None of these habits are meant to create loud transformation or promise dramatic breakthroughs in a few days. They create something far more valuable, a solid foundation that allows a person to go far without collapsing. The Japanese understand that life is not decided by moments of brilliance, but by how you live on the most ordinary days. Keeping small promises builds honor. Finishing before perfect builds action. Caring for yourself as a ritual builds endurance. Silence at the right time builds depth. Cleaning your space builds inner order. Persisting with small daily actions builds discipline. Self-reflection builds maturity. Living simply builds inner strength. Respecting the smallest things builds character. Ending each day with gratitude builds a steady mindset in the face of change. None of these habits are flashy, but every one of them is sharp. What they all share is this: they happen quietly. No one applauds when you keep a promise to yourself. No one praises you for a tidy desk. No one cheers when you persist with a small daily task. But it is precisely this quiet consistency that creates real difference. Lasting success is always built away from the spotlight. The samurai spirit runs through this entire path. They did not chase praise or seek instant recognition. They trained themselves every day, kept discipline even when no one was watching. To them, living rightly mattered more than being praised. Living with order mattered more than displaying power. And preserving character mattered more than short-term victory. If you are waiting for the perfect moment to begin, this path is not for you. But if you are willing to start today with one very small action and repeat it tomorrow and the next day, then you have entered the orbit of real change. Not fast, but solid. Not flashy, but irreversible. Life doesn't change when you know more. It changes when you live differently each day. Just 1% better than yesterday, sustained by discipline, honesty, and gratitude. One day, when you look back at the road you've traveled, you will realize you didn't become great in a single day, but you became steadier with each passing day. And that is the greatest strength born from very small things.